What's the theme this week, Laura?
The theme this week is packing for New Zealand. So we're going to go through a complete packing list of everything that you should have included in your list for coming to New Zealand, all the essentials. But of course, all packing lists are personal to your own needs and stuff like that. So obviously you can always add your own little tidbits you have to sort of include in there as well. But this is just the stuff that we recommend that you definitely pack.
And we're obviously going to gear up towards packing for New Zealand, for a trip to New Zealand. Okay, so we're going to get started with our packing tips for New Zealand with just a couple of comments about which bags you should pack for your trip to New Zealand. I wanted to begin with discussing the difference between backpack and suitcase. We obviously have a video already on the channel covering backpack versus suitcase. We also have a full article on NZ Pocket Guide. It's a question that we do receive really often. But in short, pack yourself a backpack if you're planning on actually kind of having to carry your luggage from point A to B from time to time. If you're planning to travel New Zealand by bus, for example, and have to make your way from your bus to your hostels, if you're backpacking, for instance, if you're planning on doing some great walks and want to get, carry with yourself most of your belongings, then you may need an extra backpack. It does have this flexibility of ease of carrying. However, it's not that easy to rummage through a backpack and find everything you want. So at that point, if you don't have any of this, issue, and if you're planning on just traveling by car and making your way from a hotel to hotel, for example, then the suitcase is perfect, as you'll be able to open it fully flat and be able to actually grab everything you need as you go. So when it comes down to choosing between backpack and suitcase, well, basically look at what kind of trip you are going on and then choose accordingly, or just look around your house and pick the stuff you already have. Why buy something new?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to day packs.
All right, so you definitely want to have a day pack for coming to New Zealand. Something that's versatile, medium size, so that it can couple up as your carry-on luggage while you're on your flight, as well as a comfortable day pack that you can take around New Zealand when you're out and about. Because when you are out and about in New Zealand, you don't want to just have your phone in your pocket and that's it. Usually the weather is very changeable, which we're going to be talking about a lot in this video, talking about the different things that you might want to take, like rain jackets, bottles of water, insect repellent, all that sort of stuff that's really handy to have throughout the day while you're in the great outdoors of New Zealand. You definitely will want to have a day pack for those needs.
Okay, all right, so we're going to continue with our coverage of packing in New Zealand, or packing for a trip to New Zealand, should I say. And we're going to get going with what clothes to pack for a trip to New Zealand. And in order to do that, I will pass you to the great Laura. So Laura, take it away.
All right, so for the clothes that you need to pack for New Zealand, you need to think about taking versatile outfits and lots of layers, because whatever the season, the weather can be really changeable in New Zealand. So even if you're traveling in the summer, you can wake up and it can be a nice, bright, hot, sunny day, and by the end of the day, it can be rainy and chilly. So it's really important to make sure that you do have really versatile outfits, different layers, so you can put layers in your day pack and get changed, or take layers off and put them in your day pack throughout the day. So make sure that you have those options when you're coming to New Zealand. So we're going to go through, first of all, I'm going to talk about actually the amount of clothes to take to New Zealand. So it's a good sort of rule of thumb is to take about as much as a week's worth of clothing, because you will have access to laundry facilities. If you're staying in budget accommodations, there's usually coin operated laundry machines that you can use. Otherwise, if you're staying in hotels and that sort of thing, if you're a bit fancier, then they have laundry services there that you can use. So usually a good amount is about a week's worth of clothing. And then finally, we're going to go through a packing list, and this is just for one person. So obviously it's for each member of your group. If you are traveling as a group, or if you're traveling solo, it would be just for you. So let's get started with the packing list. So first of all, you want to take perhaps one leggings or sweatpants with you, one pair of hiking pants, 1 pair of shorts, just for summer. You probably don't need shorts in any other season. About 6 tops / t-shirts or singlets, whatever you prefer to wear as your sort of underlayer. 1 light long-sleeved top, so you can either protect yourself from the sun in summer or just as an extra layer in other seasons. 1 thermal underlayer, which you can have thermal underlayers for your top or even your bottoms, which is good for extra warmth in the other seasons, basically outside of summer. Also, it's a good idea to have a mid layer, so 1 sweater / hoodie or fleece or just any other sort of mid layer that you can put on top for extra warmth. 1 waterproof or windproof jacket. So as we've talked about, there is a lot of rain in New Zealand, so being able to put on a rain jacket is ideal. 6 pair of socks is good, a mix of woolen and cotton socks. Woolen more for when you're out hiking. 6 pairs of underwear is good. 2 bras if you are a lady and wear bras, and 1 pair of hiking shoes or hiking boots. Lots of walking trails in New Zealand that you might want to do. 1 pair of flip-flops or otherwise in New Zealand that's called jandals. 1 item of swimwear, 1 sun cap / sun hat, 1 beanie if you're traveling in winter, 1 scarf or neck warmer, again if you're traveling in winter, and 1 pair of sunglasses.
And what I would like to mention is that what Laura just mentioned are just the bare minimum, right? They're just the thing that we think every traveler should have with themselves. Some people will be more comfortable packing a few extra things, and especially like a city outfit. A lot of people feel like they're gonna look out of place wearing a city outfit, outdoor outfit in the city in New Zealand. It's really not the case. You absolutely can be dressed like I am right now, ready for a hike in the city in New Zealand. You wouldn't stick out. When it comes down to pajamas or sleepwear, some people like to have their own sleepwear, like usually sleeping in your sweatpants or anything like that is kind of fine and help you shave off some weight in your luggage. And the last thing that I want to mention is packing for the season is absolutely essential. There is a lot of different weather in New Zealand and weather event that can happen, so we do have full list for each different seasons on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to check those one out. So while you guys are coming up with some more questions about traveling in New Zealand, we're going to move on to toiletries and what to pack when it comes down to your little toiletry bag and coming to New Zealand. So everybody has their own regime of pills, beauty regime, any of those kind of things. But Laura got you covered with a list of the absolute essential you must have in your toiletry bag when coming to New Zealand. So take it away, Laura.
I'll get straight to the list. So first of all, you definitely need sunscreen, at least factor 30 or SPF 30. No SPF 15s here in this country. The UV levels are really high, so make sure it's high SPF. Insect repellent, especially in summer. Round in winter, it's not that essential. After sun or moisturizer, just in case you do get burnt. Toothbrush, toothpaste, shampoo / conditioner, whatever you use for your hair, wash your hair. Deodorant, hairbrush / comb. Hair bobbles or hair bands if you've got long hair. Feminine hygiene products. Razors, makeup, Q-tips. Also tissues, contact lenses / glasses, and any prescription medication you may use.
So pretty much all the above, except obviously your prescription medication, can be purchased in New Zealand supermarkets. So you really don't have to overpack and get yourself a ton of toiletry when coming to New Zealand. You'll be able to refill if you're coming for an extended stay in New Zealand. Let's say you're coming for 3 months, you're planning the holiday of a lifetime. That's epic. You don't really need to pack for that long. You can pick anything up in New Zealand supermarkets. We also haven't included soap in this list because if you're staying in hotels or those kind of accommodation, usually it's included. It's available in your room. But yeah, if you want to pack your own soap, you can get yourself a soap box with your own soap. But speaking of medication, since that was the question that we were receiving, what about we talk about medication and first aid kit to pack for a trip to New Zealand? Take it away, Laura.
Yeah, so it is a good idea to bring your own sort of just mini first aid kit to New Zealand and also have that packed into your day pack as you're traveling around because you don't know you don't know what accidents may happen throughout the day. So yeah, we'll get through onto the list right now. So the first thing you want to have in your mini first aid kit are plasters or band-aids if you're from the US, disinfectant wipes, gauzes with clips or tapes, tweezers, hand sanitizer, paracetamol/ibuprofen, whatever you prefer for pain relief, antiseptic cream, hydrocortisone cream, antihistamines, and Imodium.
Here you go. And
that bit too fast?
Actually, a comment that makes a lot of sense over there from Fabio saying that weed is not allowed in New Zealand, even for medicinal purposes. You won't be able to bring your supply of weed in the country. So yeah, just do keep that in mind. This may change in the future, obviously, but at the moment it is the case. In the meantime, we'll continue with our coverage of what to pack for a trip to New Zealand, and we're going to talk about some other essentials, some kind of miscellaneous that we were not kind of sure in which category to put them on. And yeah, take it away, Laura.
All right, so some stuff to pack in your, other essentials list is a New Zealand travel adapter if you are basically coming from anywhere else other than Australia and China. Camera/action camera, if you are into, if you want to capture some memories while you're in New Zealand, make sure you bring your camera if you're not just using your phone. Speaking of phone, bring your phone. Good to stay in contact with people. Also, some electronic device chargers. Basically, remember all your chargers for all your electronic devices, and any extra batteries would be a good idea. If you do bring batteries, remember to pack them in your carry-on bag rather than your check-in luggage when you're on the plane. Also, bring your passport, bring your driving license, and your international driver's permit if your driving license isn't in English. Also, make sure you bring your flight ticket and your return ticket. Make sure that you bring your visa and supporting evidence if that's applicable to you. Make sure you bring New Zealand dollars. It's a good idea to have New Zealand currency for at least the first few days while you're in New Zealand, just in case you don't have access to your bank card, in case your bank shuts you off. That does happen sometimes when you are traveling abroad. Make sure you bring your credit/debit card. Usually Visa and MasterCards are the most accepted cards in New Zealand. It's a good idea to bring a reusable water bottle or a water bladder if you are doing a lot of hiking. The water is safe in New Zealand, the tap water is safe, so make sure you reuse your water bottles. Food containers is a good idea if you are self-catering, so you can, pack your own packed lunch. Shopping bags is good as well. They don't give out plastic shopping bags in New Zealand, so having a reusable shopping bag is a good idea if you're self-catering. Travel towels are good, quick dry travel towels, especially if you are camping or staying in hostels. And finally, some travel games or entertainment. Especially if you're traveling with kids, that sort of thing, then good idea to have something to entertain everyone.
And there's 2 videos on this channel with our favorite travel games, so you may want to check that out. And remember, if it has a battery, you pack it in your carry-on. Just remember that as a rule of thumb when packing your bag. All right, good debate. I really do enjoy the contribution of everybody. That's great. So while you guys are continuing with that, we are going to move on to some camping gear. So if you're planning on camping in New Zealand, there is a few things that you may want to pack for that. If you're not planning on camping, you can definitely skip this section.
Yeah.
All right, so camping gear, Laura, what do you need to pack?
Okay, so if you are planning on camping in a tent using campsites around New Zealand, then you're going to need a tent. Ideally a lightweight tent so you don't take up all that weight in your weight allowance for coming over to New Zealand by your flight. A sleeping mat is good. Obviously, keep yourself warm from the cold ground and a little bit more comfortable. 4-season sleeping bag, definitely, because of the very changeable temperatures and weather in New Zealand, no matter what season you're coming to New Zealand. A torch or as our American friends would say, flashlight. Make sure that you can see as you're going around in your campsite at night. A camping stove is a good idea. However, you need to get your gas canisters in New Zealand. You won't be able to transport that to New Zealand. And finally, some camping cooking utensils. If you're just camping in a camper van, then obviously you don't need to bring all the tent stuff. You'll just need to bring yourself a 4-season sleeping bag. A 4-season sleeping bag if bedding isn't included in your camper van rental. And also a torch or a flashlight is a good idea regardless. Just bring that to New Zealand if you're camping even in a camper van. If you're planning in staying in huts as you're doing multi-day hiking around New Zealand, for example, then it's a good idea to bring a 4-season sleeping bag, a torch, a camping stove, again, get your canisters in New Zealand, and some camping cooking utensils.
All right. Okay, now some people are traveling in New Zealand for longer trips. They're coming here for, seasonal work visas or even a working holiday visa and going to come here to stay for, an extended period of time in the country. And at that point, you will have to bring a couple of extra things which are slightly different than what, is the usual packing for a holiday in New Zealand. So I'm going to go over the few extra things that you may want to pack if you're coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa. And we're going to be starting with the laptop. Obviously, you'll need to probably do your CV and do some more extensive work search on your working holiday on your gap year in New Zealand. So you may want to have your laptop. Now, I don't think that you'll be able to use your laptop for all your entertainment needs. You may not have access to your Netflix account from overseas, or you may have limited access to it because some apps and some softwares are geo-locked, so be aware of that. You will be advised to bring some passport-sized photos. For example, if you want to apply for an 18+ ID card, which is an ID card that allows you to drink alcohol in bars in New Zealand, if you don't want to bring your passport when you go on a big night out. But also it may be useful if you are applying for a visa for the next country you want to go to, or those kind of things. You obviously want to bring some photocopies of your passport because you will need those for work applications, for form submissions, all these kind of things. And it's always good to have a copy anyway. You obviously want a copy of your work visa as well as a copy of all the supporting evidence. For example, if you are on a working holiday visa, you need to have proof of sufficient funds, onward travel tickets, travel insurance, those kind of things. So you want to have those paperwork ready. You will want to have travel insurance, especially for a long trip into New Zealand. A smart or casual kind of outfit, like smart casual, something for jobs interview. And you will be very advised to bring a multi-plug, especially if you're planning on staying in a hostel. It is an absolute lifesaver when there's only 2 plugs in your bed dorm, and you'll basically just save the life of all your compadres. That'd be absolutely perfect. Okay.
Right. Nice.
Here are some things that are essential to pack if you're planning to travel around New Zealand in a camper van, starring the beautiful Laura.
Okay, first thing to pack, I think everybody should have on their list, is at least a pack of playing cards. Some sort of games that you can play, while you're, at the end of the day, if you're in your campsite and stuff. It's just a fun way to just, have good times with the group that you're traveling with. Definitely recommend bringing a travel blanket. Just an extra blanket's usually a good idea because it does get a little bit chilly. And if you haven't got access to an electric power supply, with some camper van rentals have heaters, but you can't always use them. So just an extra travel blanket. You can pick some up at places like the Warehouse and Kmart, or you can just bring an extra sleeping bag from home. Make sure that you're nice and toasty.
All right, so if you are planning to travel in a camper van, you probably will need to park at some places. You probably will need to use some Department of Conservation campsites, for instance. And so at that point, having cash and coins will be really useful. You will need them to pay for, the parking meters, but you may also need them to put them inside, some of those safe boxes when you go in front of the Department of Conservation website. So having a bit of cash is always quite handy. Speaking of traveling in a camper van, since that's the theme of this list, I think I'm not going to use that as a segue anymore. But an auxiliary cable or aux cable would be really useful. That will allow you to plug your phone into the radio kind of thingy into the camper van and be able to play your own tune. So why not pack that?
We have the next one we have is titled Lotions and Potions. So basically just anything like insect repellent, sunscreen, all that sort of essentials that we keep on talking about on this channel all the time. make sure that you have that even if you're on a camper van trip. And just as an extra tip, you probably will have you'll have insect screens on your camper van. So when you're opening your windows, if you don't have insect screens, make sure that you close your windows and don't let all those sandflies into your camper van. Close the doors and stuff. Like if you're traveling in summer, you won't want to have all those extra little bugs inside your camper van. Next up, make sure that you have a GPS app. So a really good map GPS app that we use is Maps.me as a way to sort of navigate getting around New Zealand when you're in a camper van road trip. Obviously, you are self-driving and you might not know where to go. So just having a good GPS app is a good idea for getting around.
Next up, we have power generator or even just power banks. You may need to have decent access to power, and genuinely in a camper van, it's not always the case that there is enough power to plug everything. So looking into power banks or power generator will be quite essential. Next up on the list, we have swimwears and towels, and especially for towels, please do not pack cotton towels. Pack yourself some microfiber towels. It makes a world of difference as to how fast it dries and as well how little it smells in a camper van. So yeah, pack those.
Just as a fun thing to pack, a good fun thing would be marshmallows. If you want to ever do if you're staying in a campsite which allows fires, like to have controlled fires, then it's always fun to have like toasted marshmallows over the fire. It's a classic camping activity. So yeah, why not just incorporate that during your trip? And next up is a bodyboard. So if you are, there's a lot of really cool campsites along the beaches, but also going to places like the Riri Rock Slide in Gisborne. There's lots of opportunities to use a bodyboard and have heaps of fun, especially if you're traveling in summer. So yeah, there's lots of options where you can get one for cheap at places, again, like the Warehouse or Kmart, that sort of thing. Just to inject a little bit more fun into some of your activities and add a free sort of activity you can do as you're traveling around.
All right, so it can get cold when traveling in New Zealand in a camper van, especially if you're traveling in autumn and winter. So having merino layers, those kind of really tight thermal kind of layers that you can wear underneath your clothes that are really kind of tight on your body and keep you really warm is quite essential when traveling in New Zealand in a camper van. So make sure you keep yourself warm. And finally, the last thing that we recommend to pack when traveling in New Zealand in a camper van is a torchlight. Many of the campsites are really not well lit, and if you want to be able to find the bathroom, if you're not planning on using the one in your camper van, or if you need to roam around, if you heard some noise, if you need to check the car, anything, or the vehicle, anytime, having a torchlight is quite essential. So make sure that you pack that. So while you guys continue with your question, and remember to vote on the poll. What do you think about the new format for the show? We're going to go over 10 items you should definitely not pack for New Zealand. Laura, do you want to get us started?
Sure. First of all, don't pack fancy going out attire like high heels, your best party dress, that sort of thing. When you go out in New Zealand, people dress up pretty casually. Only maybe in a few nightclubs in Auckland are people wearing heels and things, but really it's just not the vibe. It's not like Europe. People like to keep things casual in New Zealand, so just more casual clothes is the way to go.
Okay, do not pack your hairdryer. Most hotels, accommodation, even holiday park and hostels have them available. Sometimes they're not in your room, but they'll be available at reception. Don't pack a bulky hairdryer when traveling around New Zealand. You really do not need it.
Don't pack a sleeping bag if you're not camping. So you will have bedding supplied in all the accommodations that you are going to, except for very, very slim amount of holiday parks on really rare occasions may charge you more to hire the bedding, which will then be just a small minor fee. But yeah, bedding supplied pretty much everywhere. You won't need a sleeping bag. And if you're staying in hostels, they usually have a no sleeping bag policy. They don't like people sleeping in their own sleeping bags there. They provide all the bedding, so no sleeping bag unless you're camping.
I already hinted during this video about this one, but don't pack an umbrella. Umbrella are absolutely useless in New Zealand. Umbrellas are a no-go right here. You know, the wind is usually quite strong when it's raining, and when it rains, it pours. It's just not going to keep you protected. You want a good, sturdy rain jacket, something that works well. Genuinely, an umbrella will be absolutely useless.
Yeah.
You'll break it in the first rain.
A cotton towel. Don't bring a cotton towel. First of all, cotton towels are big and bulky. They take up a lot of space. A lot of accommodations, if you're staying in private rooms, they'll supply cotton towels for you to have after your shower, that sort of thing. Also, if you are traveling around, like and staying in hostels, that sort of thing, or campsites where you don't get towels supplied, then cotton towels will just keep the wetness, keep the smell, and they're just really like rancid to travel with. So that's why we always suggest to bring an actual travel towel. A quick, dry travel towel is going to be so much better and take up much less room.
All right, don't bring travelers' checks in New Zealand. Honestly, they are an antiquities by now. Like, who's bringing travelers' check? Why is it still advertised? It's super hard to redeem, especially in countries like New Zealand. Just bring some good old-fashioned cash if you want to bring some cash in the country.
Don't bring too many books. Obviously, big, bulky, heavy. You don't really need to bring all your book supplies. If you're an avid book reader, you can obviously e-readers, that sort of thing is going to take up much less space. Second of all, book exchanges are really common in New Zealand hostels and holiday parks, that sort of thing, where they have basically if you're staying in accommodation where there's a common area or a common room, there's usually a book exchange. So you can just, take your one book and have that and then exchange it for something else as you're traveling around. Because New Zealand is a country of avid book readers. There's always books available and that sort of thing. Just you don't need to bring your whole library with you from home.
And if you need to bring your whole library, Sherry's right. Bring a Kindle. Here you go.
Yes.
You're done. All right, next up on our list, do not bring too many toiletries. Just bring what you need for the first week or 2 weeks, and then there is a lot of chances that you'll end up in a supermarket at some point in New Zealand and you'll be able to refill that and get yourself something else. So you do not need to overpack and bring a ton of toiletries. Do yourself a favor, pack only the essentials.
Don't pack too many clothes. So we've already gone through our packing list in this live show of about enough clothes for about a week's supply is good because you will have access to laundry facilities. If not in your hostel or in holiday parks where they're usually coin operated washing machines, then at least in hotels they have laundry services, that sort of thing. So you don't need to go overboard on picking all the items of clothing that you're going to wear for a say 21-day trip.
And the last thing that you shouldn't pack when traveling in New Zealand is too many gadgets. There is a lot of gadgets around, like travel gadgets, travel pillows, those weird noise-canceling headphones and all those kind of things. There is really a lot of different gadgets. Just really bring stuff that you think you're going to be using all the time. There is really a lot of over-consumerism nowadays, and people tend to buy a ton of gadgets because they're just about to go in one trip. Just bring something that you genuinely going to need. And also, when you buy some gadgets for traveling, think to yourself, will I be able to either pass it on to another traveler, resell it very easily, or use it again back home when I get back home? Because otherwise, just buying some expensive gadget for just a 2 weeks or 3 weeks trip is usually non-essential. So here you go, don't pack that.